Hi everybody, welcome to this Thursday edition of the Daily Dandy. For those of you who tuned in yesterday, I was live with Betsy Shepard from our courtyard. So we were actually in-person social distancing, which means you probably couldn't hear it as well as usual because the camera's kind of far away from us. Betsy also wrote me, she covered the theme song that Denver Nix wrote for me. I meant to play it on air today, and I'm going to try to do that in the future, but I'm still working out the technical difficulties in that because I only have it on my phone, and I'm using my phone to record this. My guest today is Leah Beth Fishman, who's a musician, an artist, and we're going to talk a bit about gold leafing. I'm just waiting for her to join now. It's been a rainy day here in the French Quarter. It's one of those days where, although it's not hurricane season yet, we've been given a little mini monsoon just to remind us. It's been quite nice sitting inside. Don't feel so bad about not being out having a picnic. Enjoying tea, listening to the rain, reading Samuel Pepys' diary about him living through the plague in London in 1665 for our book club. I started a pandemic book club on Zoom, and we meet once a week, and that's been great so far. What else? I spent today setting up our study a little bit. I have a hideous HVAC ventilation pipe in the room that I've been trying to cover up for ages. And I finally did that by hanging some of my mother's beautiful silk saris in front of it. So that was today's project. And I also had some social distance termite extermination today, which was kind of exciting. 2 reasons to wear a mask. They cut holes in our wall and sprayed a bunch of stuff in them, so hopefully that won't kill us. What else? Picked out some paint chips. I'll show you the beautiful canopy of saris, which I'm calling Project Sorry Not Sorry. You see, you can kind of make it out there. Got a new lamp that we found on the street, hanging out there in the corner with some paintings that my grandmother did. Let's see if Leah is joining. Not yet, that's okay. Yesterday's interview with Betsy was one of the most enjoyable ones I've done. In fact, we went over time and got cut off. But it just goes to show how much nicer it is to talk to people in person. Betsy's one of the only people that Sarah and I have really been hanging out with. Kelly says, "Where's my trombone?" I'm not sure what he means by that. Although that word reminds me that the other day I said motorcycle and Sarah thought I said bonercycle. So bonercycle is a new favorite word of mine. Not exactly sure what it means, but you can use your imagination. As usual, I'm drinking Diet Dr. Pepper out of a teacup, hoping for an eventual sponsorship by the good people at Dr. Pepper, DDP. If anyone has any questions while we wait on Leah, you're welcome to ask them. My guest tomorrow is going to be Tony Sylvester of Turbo Negro, also a fantastic dresser and tastemaker. We're going to talk about eclecticism and where to find interesting influences and how to combine them. Oh, Kelly says for making the noise, wah, wah. Yeah, I prefer a good rim shot. Trying to think what else has been happening around here. Not much. Sarah's at work today. Our friend Maggie is moving on Saturday, which is very sad. She was supposed to have a socially distant going away event tonight, but that's not happening because it's raining. So I've been spending the day reading. Leah's just joined. That's good. We can get started soon. Let's see. I'm going to add her now. Why isn't this working? All right. Loading.
Hey.
Hey!
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Oh, this is fun. For some reason, I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to set this all up. I was like- but yeah, that was easy. This is my
Is your
first
con- is your
Instagram
con-
live video.
is your connection good?
Yeah. Is it okay?
Okay, good. Yeah, you're a bit grainy, but I think it's just this kind of stuff always happens because everyone's online right now.
Yeah. I think I'm just grainy in general.
You think, like in real life, like when I see you in
Yeah.
person, you look sort of pixelated.
Yeah, I'm buffering.
Yeah, it's the witness protection program has updated the technology. So
Exactly.
where are you right now?
I'm in Vermont. It's kind of nice. I was able to get out of the city. Um, we had a weird start to all of this because Habibi was on tour when all of this first started happening. Uh, and we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to make it back to New York. So we were like coming from Seattle, and that was like, ooh, the epicenter of
Wow.
everything. Um, and then I got back to New York and I started on a job site, and within one day they were like, oh, just kidding, the job is canceled.
Wow.
New York is shut down. My boyfriend, luckily enough, he has family up in Burlington,
Uh-huh.
and his brother has a condo in Sugarbush Village, which is like a ski town that he Airbnbs out. And so it's obviously empty now. So we just packed up and we're living up here in this empty condo.
Well, it's nice you were able to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
You have some outdoor space and everything?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the mountains. It's pretty crazy. There's still snow on the ground here and everything. We got some snow like 2 days ago. We got like 5 inches of snow on Saturday.
My God.
Yeah, it's really weird. We're
Yeah.
like in a completely different ecosystem.
I know it's 87 degrees here now. It's hard to contemplate snow.
What the fuck? I'm still wearing my winter coat.
Well, how far in the tour were you guys?
Um, we were able to finish up the first leg of our tour. We did like an entire West Coast thing, and then we came home. We were supposed to leave again like 4 days later, and or 3 days later even to do a 5 day Midwest thing, and it was so up in the air. We were supposed to leave and get on the road, and literally an hour before we were supposed to leave, our booking agent called and was like, "Nope, just kidding. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Everything's canceled."
And you'd already pre-sold tickets and everything?
Yeah.
Oh man. So did you just refund them or did you like hold on until this is all over? They
Um,
rescheduled.
I don't. I think some of them we had to refund. Some of them are tentatively rescheduled. One of them was a music festival,
Okay.
so that's kind of on up to them to do whatever. I don't even know. We have some things. We're doing like a virtual Memorial Day music fest for something, maybe.
Okay.
I
How are
don't
you
know.
going to do that if you're all in different places?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen lots of musicians doing like solo stuff in various places, but
Yeah.
it seems like this is really hard on bands.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, last week, Rahil is upstate also. So she's in the country, and Linnea was able to get up there for a few days. And so
Mhm.
they did some live stuff. And I pre-recorded me playing like rhythm acoustic guitar by myself, and I sent it to them. And then they were able to like put the video of me playing in the background, and they
Okay.
played a lot of that.
Yeah,
So,
that's cute. People are finding ways to innovate.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we have no idea how long this is going to go on. I miss live music. We had tickets to see Orville Peck,
Oh
and
my God.
now we're missing out on that.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, especially in New Orleans, like, that's like just live music is the lifeblood of that fucking town.
Yeah, Jazz Fest was canceled for the
Yep.
first time in who knows how long. But because we're in the French Quarter, there's so many people with balconies that we've had a lot of people going out and playing on their balconies, which is nice.
Oh, that's cool. Yep, that was going to be my next question is where in New Orleans are you? You're in the
We're
French Quarter?
right in the French Quarter. We're on a kind of quieter side. We're still far enough from Bourbon Street that we don't hear and smell it.
Good. Yeah,
But
I
there's
love the French Quarter, but Bourbon Street is kind of hell.
yeah. Although right now it's crazy because I mean it's deserted. It's never smelled this nice, or
Right.
like Sarah,
Vomit,
you know,
relatively vomit free.
it's vomit free. There's more rats though. But Sarah and I usually like, you know, try to run past Bourbon Street as fast as possible. But now we're like taking leisurely strolls down and be like, oh wow, the architecture is actually kind of nice on this street.
It's lovely. I mean, I know New Orleans pretty well. The Society of Gilders used to, for like 3 or 4 years in a row, we did events there. So, and I would like live there for like 2 weeks and work on projects. And a couple times we did some work in the French Quarter, well, like at Jackson Square, that museum there. We did some restoration on some frames there. And then we restored a lot of gilding on a couple churches by Magazine Street and like, I forget. It's Saint Alphonsus. That was the name of the church.
Okay.
Right near where Russell's Records used to be.
Oh, cool. Well, so that brings me to what I want to talk to you about today for the most part. So a lot of people know that you're the bass player for Habibi, but I have known for a long time that you've done this, and I'm sort of in awe of it. One of the great things about this interview series that I've been doing is I've had a chance to talk to people who are not just artists, but also decorative artists and craftspeople, and I got to speak to tailors and lace makers, and gilding is so fascinating. It's I mean, it's not like it's a lost art form, but it's something that's so sort of out of people's thoughts. I think it's that kind of happens.
It's a real niche thing. A lot of people don't like know what it is. Like, yeah.
And I think a lot of people also don't. It's one of those things that when it's done well, you almost don't notice it because it's an embellishment.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how did you get started doing it?
Well, I was going to FIT. This was like right around when I first like met you, kind of like in the early 2000s. I was going to FIT for illustration, and I was really bored and frustrated and wanted like a more like hands-on thing that I could sink my teeth into. And I noticed that they had an antique restoration program, which they don't have it anymore. But I got really into it, and they had a gilding class, and I just sort of fell into it. It was kind of, the major got canceled. Like they don't have that program anymore. There's no antiques restoration program at FIT, or there's no antiques restoration BFA program in the United States anymore at all.
Wow.
Which is weird and sad.
Yeah.
But so when they canceled the program, my gilding teacher, who's this really fun old hippie lady who's been living on Avenue C since like the 70s. She's my spirit woman. Like I call her my gilding mom. She was like, well, so I don't know, what are you gonna do now? Like, are you gonna get a degree? Do you give a shit about having that piece of paper? Like, that's the way she talks. And I'm like, not really. I don't know. And she's like, well, you're pretty good at gilding, and we get along. So why don't you come work for me? So she kind of trained me.
Sorry.
Bless you. And I became her assistant for a few years, and things kind of snowballed from there.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember the first time I heard about you doing that, it might have been when you did the Door Against Nature or something. You did. You were doing signs, I think. And so that's how I first heard about it. So, as an apprentice, and then taking this on as a profession, how did that work?
It's kind of, the same as like just finding your way through being a freelance anything. Just late nights of like stressful sample making and building up a portfolio and cold calling people, and eventually word of mouth and dumb luck.
I imagine like, the kind of thing that a lot of people don't realize they want until they find out it's an option.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's mostly about that. I mean, Jill, she trained me in like traditional water gilding techniques, like frame making and frame gilding and things like that. And then one day she was like, this sign company wants me to do a glass gilded sign for them, and I can't do it. I gave them your name. They might call you. And I had never done glass gilding before. And I just lied. And I said, yeah, of course I know how to do that. And I read a ton of books and I practiced a lot. And then
is that the kind of thing you get most asked to do, or I mean, what's the range of things that you do? I mean, I assume you can gild anything you want.
Yeah, yeah, no, literally. I mean, look at this log.
Yeah, I love
it. It's really a range of things, you know, and it's kind of a push and pull between like the boring commercial stuff that like I don't technically usually want to do, and like fun artistic stuff. Like I just did, you know, Tobin and Jasper's TVI. I did some gilding work for them. And that was kind of, I kind of bullied them into it. I was like, it's going to look great. Like, just trust me.
Yeah.
You know, and I love doing frame restoration, but that's not really a money maker so much because it's restoration and conservation is many hours of work for a tiny result that a lot of people don't have the money to pay for the amount of labor
right
to go into restoring a frame.
Yeah.
So even though I love doing that, I don't do so much of that anymore. I do teach it sometimes, but
what about that is so much work? Why is that so much more than?
I guess because it's all about. I mean, it's kind of like an ethical commitment to history. You know, a lot of people want to just like sand everything down and start from scratch, but like, there's like a very like. You know, every now and then they'll pop up something on like, you know, some article about something that's like has been terribly restored and everyone's laughing at it. And
sure.
So it's a very fine balance of work. And traditional water gilding, it takes days and days and days just to do a tiny thing because of the amount of steps and the amount of drying times involved. And you're working with really traditional materials and just like going as slow and as carefully as you possibly can. So that's why that's.
I want to hear a bit about techniques and materials, but could you tell a little bit about the history of gilding in general?
Yeah, I mean it's really one of the oldest crafts. Like it dates back to about 2300 BC in Egypt. They were gilding on papyrus and, you know, embellishments like obviously like sarcophagus, you know, think of King Tut's tomb and things like that. That's early gilding, and it honestly hasn't really changed much. It's just the concept of hammering out gold leaf into really thin, you know, leaves and putting it on a surface. So it's not like, you know, you're not dipping anything in gold, you're not painting in gold, but it's just taking a piece of gold, hammering it out into as thin as you possibly can get it, and putting it on a surface. So obviously in Egypt, they didn't hammer it out as thin as we can get it by machines now, but that's the earliest form of gilding. Wow. A lot of it was sort of lost or kept secret for a really long time because in the Middle Ages they formed, you know, trade guilds, guild with a U, not sure. Guild with an I. And a lot of the guilds, they really kept their secrets. You know, there was almost no written material at all because it was such a closely guarded thing of other people horning in on the trades and things like that. I think like the oldest written stuff about gilding is only in 1800s.
Oh wow!
Even it's, you know, I mean, think of how much gilding was done in like the Renaissance in Florence and things like that. It was everywhere.
Are some of those older methods of gilding are they able to be uncovered by sort of reverse engineering them or something? Can you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the recipes that we have today are somehow, you know, I don't even know how somebody discovered it, but you know, the techniques and ways that we use today for traditional water gild, it hasn't changed at all. You know, it's just centuries and centuries old, which is kind of what I love about it.
Yeah, that's so nice. That's great. What is traditional water gilding? You said you used that term a few times. That's
okay. It's the process of putting gold leaf on that creates a really high burnish. So like when you see like an old frame that's like super shiny, it's the only technique of laying down gold leaf on a surface that will produce a really high sheen and make it actually look like, you know, like liquid gold, kind of. It's all about building up layers and layers and layers of materials. And so the ground, what you have is a base of rabbit skin glue and chalk dust, calcium carbonate.
Okay.
So you let the rabbit skin glue, which is like, it's in pellets now, but it sometimes can come in sheets. And you mix that with the calcium carbonate, with the chalk, to make gesso. And you build up layers and layers and layers of gesso into the wood. Ideally, you want a porous surface. So the rabbit skin glue is a binder, and it sinks into the pores of the wood, and it bonds with the wood.
So the wood keeps its shape and detail and doesn't...
Exactly, and it'll stay on forever because it becomes a part of the wood almost. And so with the layers of gesso, you're just building up surface to get a really smooth surface. And then you put a few layers of like a really finely ground clay called bowl, which is also mixed with the rabbit skin glue. And that produces like this super, super hard, non-porous surface that when you put the gold leaf on with a combination of water and a tiny bit of rabbit skin glue and alcohol, which is called gilder's liquor. Okay. Actually, in traditional, like in like the 1800s and earlier, they actually used like a little bit of vodka or gin. Nice. Now we use like isopropyl alcohol, but and once that dries, then you can burnish it. I have my burnishing tools here. Oh, wow. They're usually made out of, they used to be made out of houndstooth. It's like a agate shape. And when you burnish it on, you're basically melding the gold into the surface. And that's what creates the high shine. And it'll be pretty semi-permanent, you know? So like there are still frames in museums that have been gilded that haven't been touched for centuries. That's fantastic. It's really fun. It's like, it's labor intensive for sure.
It sounds like, how long does it take to say gild? How long did that log take? That seems like a big job.
Days. I mean, the gilding is the least of it. And it's also, with each step, you want to wait like a day before you go to the next step. So even if putting on the gesso or putting on the clay or whatever might only take a few hours, it'll take days because you have to wait a day before you can do anything, and then wait another day before you can do anything, and then so much sanding and polishing and sanding and polishing, and yeah.
And tell me about the gold that you use.
Okay, so I have a whole bunch of different kinds of gold here. This is a 22 karat. So if you know, gold is measured in carats, and 24 is, you know, the most gold that can possibly be gold. We don't usually use 24 karat because it's so soft that it's almost like it's not even worth it to use. You know, it's like an ego thing. If somebody wants it insists on 24 karat gold. Okay. So we usually use 23, 23 and a half, 23.75, something like that. But there are lesser carats and different alloys of gold that can be used. So like a 22 karat is just slightly paler than a 23 because it has 2 carats of silver in it. And so the more silver you add, the lesser the carat and the more pale the gold is. So like an 18 karat, the rest of it is silver, and that's called like lemon gold. It's a really pale yellow. And 12 karat is half silver, half gold, and that's white gold.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah. And then you have other different kinds of alloys with like the red gold is a 23 karat with 1 karat copper. There's a really fun one called moon gold, which is 22 karat gold with 1 karat silver and 1 karat copper. And that's kind of like, it's like depending on the light, it'll almost look like pinkish purple. It's a really beautiful color. Let's see. What do I have here? Here's a lemon gold. Oh, that book is empty. Never mind. I'm running out of gold up here. That's the main problem.
Oh, wow. And so they come as these little sheets in books?
Yeah. So the leaf is pounded out into super thin sheets and put into books like this.
Wow.
Um, and you can get it, you can get the gold. This is called a loose leaf because it's loose in the books, but you can get transfer or patent leaf, which is like stuck onto wax paper. And that's for different types of gilding. That's for like oil gilding, which is basically you apply a glue, wait for it to come to tack, and then you stick the gold leaf on.
Okay. So that doesn't involve the same kind of burnishing?
No. It's all oil gilding is always like a matte finish.
Huh.
That's like most architectural gilding and things like that.
Why is that better for architectural gilding?
Well, you can't really do giant like ceilings or walls with water gilding because just imagine like the amount of water you would have that would just be dripping down. Right. So with oil gilding, you can like do large amounts, you know, over days, and you know, it's not so messy.
Right. Are there different are different types better for indoor and outdoor things?
Yeah. Well, there's different types of leaf. Like for outdoor leaf, for outdoor gilding, you would use like a double weight leaf, so it's thicker and more durable. Either way, you would always be oil gilding. You wouldn't really. You could have statues, you know, that are like sitting outdoors, but you wouldn't normally be doing like, you know, a roof or a dome in water gilding.
And that stuff's probably not as detailed anyway, so you wouldn't need such a thin.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So what are some? I mean, how many different types of gilding are there, or methods?
Well, it's usually just separated into water or oil, matte or shiny. And then you have glass gilding, which is kind of a different thing altogether. That's sort of how like mirrors used to be made. And that's basically just flowing water and a solution of water and gelatin on the surface. And you put the leaf on and the water surface tension just picks up the gold. And as it evaporates, all the wrinkles gloss out. And then you just have a piece of silvery looking or any other type of leaf that you want. And then you can carve behind it or paint behind it and do things like that. So yeah, there's lots of different ways. And you can also oil gild onto it. So you can have like a two-tone shiny and matte finish, like sign gilding. That's the same thing.
Well, I have a silver mirror here that needs to be remetaled. So now you've got me thinking about where I need to take that. I was going to ask, I mean, you're talking about things like rabbit glue and all this kind of stuff. Does it smell when you're working? Is it like fumey and weird?
No, I mean, well, if you're oil gilding, then yeah, it's fumey and you want ventilation and proper masks and things like that. But with the rabbit skin glue, I don't even notice the smell anymore. You'll smell it if it goes bad, for sure. But it's all natural materials, so.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I have a friend of mine, Peter McGuff. He's a painter, and he made his own rabbit glue just to make his canvases and everything.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting material. And so do you just buy it in bulk from places?
Yeah. It usually comes in like pellet form like this. For making canvas, it's usually much finer ground and like lighter. The stuff that you use to make gesso for gilding is a lot stronger, so it's a darker color. And it comes in like weights that are called tear, because this is kind of gross. They measure the weight by how much weight they can put on the rabbit skin while it's drying before it tears.
Oh my God.
It's the tear strength, literally.
Wow.
It's very hard to be a vegan if you want to work in traditional processes.
Yeah, I've learned that from people.
Yeah, like all the brushes are like hog bristle, squirrel hair.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh yeah, and this is a batch of rabbit skin glue that has already been made up. See, it's all like beefy. It's like
Yeah.
It's like a butterscotch pudding, a really disgusting butterscotch pudding.
Do you ever have clients who are vegan who balk when they find out that you need to use rabbit skin glue?
Hasn't happened yet, but
Are there synthetic alternatives?
yeah, there are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about the log. What possessed you to gild that?
I don't know. It's just kind of like you work with what you have on hand up here. I don't have a lot of my studio stuff or art supplies or things to work with. And we were at my boyfriend's brother's house. Like we were just kind of like chatting out, like every now and then we'd drive to Burlington and we'd just like kind of visit with them outside. And he just had a bunch of logs that like a tree had been chopped down, and I was like, you know what? Can I take some of these?
That's great. I mean, it looks fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's all of these really cool like insect burrows and like worm holes in them. Like you can't really see too much of the detail right here, but like it's got like some really cool textures going on.
Yeah, I saw some of it in the pictures you sent.
Yeah.
It's funny. So I just had termite extermination today. I'm wondering if termites could get through that gold, or if it's now completely insulated.
Yeah, I think, who knows? They could probably get through anything.
Yeah, good point. I'm curious as to the gold you buy for gilding. Do the prices fluctuate with the price of gold? Yeah,
it definitely does. Huh. Not so much if you're buying like in bulk. But yeah, I just placed an order recently, and the woman who I was on the phone with, and she was like, you should buy now because Natty, the gold distributor, they're in Florence, and that's mainly the company that I buy my gold from. They they're not doing a lot of business right now.
Right.
So she's like, you should buy gold right now because I'm afraid that Natty is about to like raise their prices a lot because they're hurting.
Yeah. So, I think the price of gold is also going up a bit in general right now because people are buying metals.
Yeah.
As an investment. Yeah. So how much does enough gold cost to build a log? I mean, I just have no idea about like what these things are.
I think I probably used like 2 to 3 books of gold. So like 50 sheets, probably more. I always try to keep track, but by the end of it, like, I'm like, so yeah. But probably more than I should have.
I mean, it's nice. What kind of, what are some of the interesting things you've gilded in your career? Or interesting commissions or unexpected things that people want gold on?
Well, one of the more fun things that I did, and this was a while back, when Ryan Cohen was first really getting into like his like skull articulating and taxidermy, he asked me to gild the inside of a skull for him.
I think I've seen this skull.
Yeah.
I might have drunk wine from that skull.
No, because I think he'd already like.
Okay.
I think that was a different one. Right. And that was like a fake plastic skull that I just did for fun. But this was like he had already sliced it into like sections, so that like when you open it up, like it was like gold on the inside in like slices.
That's cool. Yeah. Oh. What are some other kind of commissions? I mean, I'm just curious. I know about signs, obviously, and frames and all that. But are there any other like weird projects?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a lot of like large projects that I just feel like I was really honored to be a part of, like historical restorations of like large things, and like this. And
for that, people bring you in as part of a team.
Yeah, exactly. Like I started working for this one company, and they mainly do large scale historical restorations of buildings. So like the Columbia Library, and like a couple months ago, we were in the New York Public Library working there, which was like such an honor and such a cool place to go to work every day.
Yeah.
And this crazy sculpture in Union Square. I don't know if you like. It's one of the. It's so ugly, but it's enormous. And if you're ever in Union Square, it's one of those things where you know that you've seen it, but you would never notice it, and then you're like, "Oh, that thing."
It's that like smoke hole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that was real gold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that was a really fun project because like it's just me and this this like hilarious little like 65-year-old French lady who I love so much. Hi An, if you're watching. And we were just up on like window washer scaffolds, like going up.
Oh my God.
We had to get like special 3-day OSHA training for that. It was fun.
Yeah. That's crazy. I couldn't even imagine that. Gilding at high altitudes above Union Square.
So fun.
Oh my God. That sounds terrifying, but I mean, I'm very impressed. Do you think, I mean, do you find people getting interested in gilding? Like, is it a thing where people have,
yeah.
I mean, you're the only person I know who does it, but it's such a fascinating craft.
I mean, I think that, you know, in the past like 10 years, there's been such a resurgence of like appreciation of crafts and like the way things used to be done. I mean, you know that for sure. So gilding, you know, isn't alone in that. But yeah, like, and like the sign painter movement has like exploded. There's like letterhead conferences all over the place all the time. And gilding classes going on now by so many people.
It's interesting you mentioned that because it's something I've talked about with a few people that I've interviewed, whether they're barbers talking about how people want straight razor shaves now, or whether it's lace makers or tailors. There is, in our generation, this sort of return to people learning crafts. And I've been trying to figure out what the various reasons for this are, because I'm sure there are many. And one thing I thought was, first of all, I've noticed that a lot of punks are into this. And I think it's because we had a sort of DIY feel from the beginning. Exactly. We always appreciated that. So we want to learn how to do things for ourselves. But also,
it's when punks grow up. That's when.
Yeah, when punks grow up, they start gilding things and making lace.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think there's also something about like our generation's, I guess, financial and social precariousness that people feel if they learn how to do something like that with their hands for themselves, it gives them a kind of, I mean, maybe even it's just the illusion of like, oh, I can always fall back on this craft, but in many cases it's real. It's like, oh, you know, I have something I can do with my hands. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's an important thing to like know a trade or a skill, and like that's something, you know, that just kind of fell by the wayside when like everyone's parents used to encourage, you know, like no, you have to become a doctor, you have to go to college, you have to do this, and like I worked so hard to, you know, do this, and it's like I think a lot of people became disillusioned with like college too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I don't have a college degree.
I mean, it's like that woman said, this shitty piece of paper.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I think a lot of people also just kind of, I feel like, I guess with our parents' generation, there was this idea that there was what was considered progress. It was like, well, suddenly we don't have to do all this stuff for ourselves. Isn't that lovely? You know, we've got food processors, and we've got, you know, frozen meats, and we've got canned vegetables and all this kind of stuff. Isn't this lovely and convenient? And I think that for a while that was kind of a great thing for a lot of people. And then people started realizing that maybe we lost something in forgetting how to do some of these things. Yeah,
for sure. I couldn't agree more. I was actually just talking with my mom about that because we were talking about making like cuisines of different eras because we're bored and we need to come up with theme nights of like how to make food. And she's like, do a 60s theme night. And I was like, the 60s cuisine was like 50s and 60s. That was just like,
hot dog Jello.
Automation and canned food. And like, what, do you want me to make a Spam Jello mold?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
Sarah's got a book of, it's like the first cookbook she ever got. And it's all like hot dogs and Jello. And like, one of the recipes is for like like extra chocolate, hot chocolate. And it's literally just like pour some hot chocolate mix into some milk and add chocolate chips to it. It's just like, what are you doing? You're just giving kids diabetes. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah. I mean, I bet it sounds like a delicious recipe.
Yeah, I'll make it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think, there's, at the same time, there's this kind of return to craftsmanship in a lot of cases. I think there's also a sort of backlash against it because people thought it was kind of like snooty or hipstery or whatever to like learn how to do these things. But
yeah,
I think now that we're kind of realizing how precarious a lot of stuff is and how fragile the whole civilization we live in is, I mean, we might not be able to, I don't know, survive in a post-apocalyptic landscape by gilding stuff and making nice suits. But, maybe you could barter something. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
It does feel like it's a nice achievement. And I think it also kind of teaches us patience because obviously, like you said, this takes you a long time to do.
Yeah, it does. And, I'm also, I'm learning. I have like some wood blocks and some old frames. I'm teaching myself how to like carve and like do leaf carving and make things like that. So, a skill is a skill, whether it becomes useless or not, it can always translate into something else.
Yeah, and I imagine with something like gilding, there's probably a lot of crossover with other crafts that you pick things up as you're doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, carving sounds like an excellent example, but
yeah.
How much of your skill as an illustrator and artist crossed over into your gilding?
I mean, it's hard to find the balance because like it's not like it's an art form, but in a lot of ways it's not nearly as artistic as painting or drawing or anything. And I miss doing stuff like that. I've been sketching a lot lately, and I realized, oh my God, I haven't like sketched or painted anything in such a long time. But when I do a lot of like glass artwork for like bars and backsplashes and stuff, like I'm obsessed with pattern and like things like that. So I try to do a lot of stuff like that. Like when I have the freedom and the budget to pitch something to a client, that's when the artistry can come in. Like for Jasper and Jonathan's thing, Jonathan said something about peacocks, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take that and run with it. So I made 3 giant glass bar backsplashes with a peacock like spreading its wings over the whole thing. It was that crazy fun project.
Do you know about Whistler's Peacock Room?
Yeah, that was our inspiration. That's what we were
fantastic.
talking about. That's one of my favorite pieces of architecture and design ever.
Yeah. The history and the story of it is just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
I just love Whistler because he was such a cocky asshole.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Have you read his book?
No.
Oh, he wrote a memoir. It's sort of half memoir, half like just his, sort of witty sayings. And it's called The Gentle Art of Making Enemies, which is such a good name for a book. That
is a badass title.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Cool.
Is there any crossover between I always love talking to people who are sort of multi-talented and who do things like music, illustration, decorative arts. I mean, is there an overlap between, these are obviously very different ways of thinking and making things. Do you find that like there's a particular mental sensibility that crosses over between these genres?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of 2 sides of the same coin, just like, I don't want to say like having an artistic temperament because that sounds pretentious and stupid, but just a way of saying like, I need to make something and do something for myself and have control over it kind of. And I don't know, I can't imagine doing one without the other, also because I have a really short attention span. And so I'm like, I'm gilding for a while. Now I need to go listen to music. Like, I can't do one without the other.
Yeah, I find that, it's, for me, the designing clothes and writing scratch 2 very different creative itches because they're such different processes. And I imagine music and gilding, again, that's a similar kind of thing where they're both creative, but they're both creative in such different ways.
Yeah, exactly. I need them both because they're both so different and they're like but at the same time, I can't separate them. Right.
Yeah. Do you have plans for, it's interesting to hear you talk about doing more illustration and sketching and that kind of stuff. Do you think about making art of your own that incorporates gilding?
Yeah, all the time. I have I I found a local carpenter up here, and he gave me a bunch of plywood boards
Hmm.
that I'm going to do some like carved, really some relief carving with gilding on top, and like some different, probably mostly abstract art.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, uh, that's my next project. I'm waiting on some art supplies to come in the mail. That's always the thing. I get an idea and then I'm like, oh, I have to wait a week for the art supplies to get shipped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true, especially now. Um,
Yeah. But I found, I looked up some YouTube demos about marbling techniques.
oh,
I've been really getting into that.
yeah.
Um, and so first I did some marbling on paper.
Hmm. Oh, beautiful.
It's so fun and
Yeah.
addictive, and like literally like takes 2 seconds, and like a preschool kid can do it.
Right.
But then I did some more research and about paints that would do that and would adhere to glass.
Hmm.
And nail polish, it turns out, works well.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
So that's nail polish, a few different colors of nail polish with silver leaf
Huh.
behind it. And this one has gold behind it.
Oh, Leah, that's beautiful.
Thanks. And then this one is just green and gold.
Hmm. Magnificent. Oh,
Thanks. So yeah, I'm they're tiny little crafty projects for now,
but those could definitely turn into, all kinds of other things, I'm sure, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Australia or actually he's in New Zealand, and he's an amazing sign gilder and painter, and he's been doing a lot of marbling techniques. And I just wrote to him and I was like, you know what? I need to pick your brain about this because I need a project and I need to learn something new right
Yeah.
now.
Do you ever have visual artists and painters and illustrators who want you to gild custom frames with them for their work?
Yeah. I've collaborated with a lot of artists before to make frames for their work. It's really fun. Collaborating and crossing different genres is one of my favorite things in the world to do.
Mm. I feel like gilding is like a uniquely well suited for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it has so many applications.
Yeah, and like you can always translate, somebody's work into like a friend of mine has a wallpaper company, and I was like, you know what, they're getting their company off the ground, and they're doing like a Kickstarter where they give away things, and I was like, let me do like a gilded version of one of your patterns, like in glass as a giveaway or promotional thing, and like let's do like a crossover like wall panel of your work. So things like that. It's always, I don't know, like I said, collaboration. It's my favorite.
That's so great. I know. I'm like, I got to find something for Leah to gild. Like looking around the house, I'm like, what could use some gilding? Do you ever work with ceramics? Do you gild ceramic stuff?
You can, but in a lot of, mostly ceramics are like kiln fired.
Right, so they won't be as porous.
Yeah, that's like a different technique of like doing like gold enamel onto the ceramics and then firing in a kiln. Mm-hmm. But I did used to work. One of my first full-time gilding jobs was I worked for a ceramic lamp making company, and I gilded all of their lamp bases.
Oh, okay, wow.
So like, just like the little like thing that the lamp sits on, like all of them. I worked literally in a closet. My office was like the size of a closet, and I just gilded lamp bases from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
All the same style of lamp, or did you at least have some variety?
There was some variety, but mostly just circular. I would get really excited when it would be like a rhomboid one.
Yeah.
That was like a big day for me.
Yeah.
But I think two of those ended up, it was a pretty high-end place. Oprah has one of my lamp bases.
Oh, wow.
Michelle Obama has two of them.
My God.
And
Did
two
you ever
of
get
them,
security clearance so they made sure you weren't putting bugs in the...
well, two of them were actually for the White House for Obama's redecoration.
Oh, wow.
And they sat on opposite sides of his couch in the Oval Office.
Huh.
And I put a secret message on the inside bottom of the lamp base.
Really? What was it?
I'll never tell.
Oh, my God. Do you know about Lincoln's pocket watch? Do you know about this?
What's Lincoln's pocket watch?
Well, President Lincoln had a pocket watch, and it broke, and they recently x-rayed it and found that the guy who repaired it had written something. He was an anti-Lincoln, anti-Union Confederate guy, and he'd written some, like, down with Lincoln inside his pocket watch where he couldn't see it.
Holy shit, that's great.
Has Donald Trump asked you to gild anything? Maybe his reputation?
Well, I had the distinct honor of declining to gild the Trump Hotel ceiling. Because I was in London working on another job at the time, and that was my favorite job that I ever declined.
Yeah, that's great. That's good too, because you have an excuse, but you can still say it was principle.
Yeah, and I also and then I found out from a friend of mine who did work on the job that it was one of the most awful jobs job sites ever. And if you ever hear him brag about how his hotel is covered in gold, it's fake gold.
Really?
It's not real gold.
Yeah, not surprising.
They didn't use real.
Did your friend get paid at least?
She did because she was working for a company, but I heard it was like pulling teeth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We've just got a few more minutes, so I wanted to say and this might be a way to transition. When you showed me your marbling stuff there, it looked sort of psychedelic, and I was wondering, have you ever done gilding work for Habibi? Have there been things that you've done?
I always say that I'm going to, and then I run out of time. And but one of the things I am working on making a carved frame that will hold our merch list. So.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your platinum record.
Oh, well, that too. Yeah, that comes next.
You could just make your own gold records. That's pretty cool.
I could marble a record.
Yeah.
I don't know if it probably wouldn't play, but.
Yeah. What's the latest news with the band? What's going to happen next? I mean, any releasing?
Well, like I said, I think we are hopefully doing a virtual concert on Memorial Day, and we've already done some things for some Instagram live things for Burger, for Rayan, for Our House, and we have a lot of gigs on the calendar TBD.
Yeah.
A lot of, because we had so much lined up. We literally just came out with our second album that we put so much effort and heart into. Yeah. It came out on Valentine's Day, a month before the world started to end.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, have sales been good, and are people?
Yeah.
People are still buying music, right?
Yeah, people need music.
You just can't go and promote it in the normal way, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back on tour.
Yeah. Do you have any recordings in the can for singles or anything?
Well, we just released a single on Bandcamp, I think about a month or two ago, of a cover of The World's Not Round, It's Square from the Savages that Raheel in half in Farsi.
Oh, great.
And we're talking about, maybe like making an album of covers, and we're working on songwriting. It's hard because, we're not together.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for this, Leah. This is such a treat. I've learned so much. And well, actually, one last question. So obviously what you do is, professional quality. What if someone is interested in a small gilding project as a sort of hobby?
There's so many little YouTube demos that you can look up. And, most crafters do like oil gilding, and it's really simple. And I would recommend just looking up a little YouTube demo about oil gilding or something like that. I bet Martha Stewart.
Excellent.
or just write to me.
Yeah. What's your website?
It's just leahbethfishman.com.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for taking this time and talking with me. It's been a while since I've seen you.
I know. This is like a great excuse to actually like talk to you and like be in touch, because I don't think we've talked in years.
I know, it's been a while. And now Lila's your drummer now, who went to high school with me.
I know.
It's like totally random and funny. And then Sarah and I we wanted to see you guys when you were down here, and you guys were DJing at
at Ace.
At the Ace, but I think she had work that night. She just didn't get out till like 9, and she's exhausted always. So, when she has to work. But next time, we promise we'll be there.
Cool. Yeah, I know how it is when like it's you're living your real life, and then it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday. Why can't you come out to see my show?
I know, but we should. I didn't know what was happening, and Sarah was like, Habibi was DJing tonight. And I was like, oh shit. And she's like, I know, I really wanted to go, but I think she didn't tell me because she knew that like she couldn't go. Anyway, thank you so much, and great talking to you.
Yeah.
Lots of love. Stay safe.
You too.
I can't wait to see what else you.
Tell Sarah I say hi.
I will, absolutely.
Bye.
Night, night.